The alien woman moved silently through the city at night, her form barely visible beneath the faint glow of the neon signs that flickered along abandoned streets. To humans, she appeared as a shadow, but in reality, her senses extended far beyond the physical. She could touch thoughts, slip into neural currents, and perceive what the mind tried to hide even from itself. Her name was Talyra, though no human had yet given her one. She did not need it. Names were for beings whose identities were limited by language. She was limitless. Yet she had chosen Earth, not for conquest or curiosity alone, but because she sensed the hidden truths of this world were urgent, dangerous, and fragile. It started subtly. The first mine she entered belonged to a city official, a man responsible for regulating urban AI systems. She did not break in violently. Instead, she aligned with the synaptic patterns like a gentle tide entering a harbor. At first, he felt nothing unusual, a fleeting clarity, a sudden understanding, but no memory of intrusion would remain consciously. Through him, Talyra saw the network of secrets humans maintained. Hidden AI manipulations, manipulated news feeds, encrypted agendas. She saw whispers in corridors, decisions made in darkness, choices justified by convenience rather than morality. She saw ambition, greed, fear, but also small, beautiful acts that no one ever noticed. A father secretly teaching his daughter to paint, a janitor leaving flowers for the cleaning staff, lovers exchanging messages coded in shared humor. And she understood why humans hid themselves. They feared judgment, failure, and chaos. They feared the transparency that she represented. As days passed, Talyra ventured deeper. She entered minds not to harm, but to observe, to gather the emotional currents of humanity. CEOs, politicians, soldiers, scientists. She felt their anxieties, their suppressed desires, their unspoken remorse. The more she touched, the more she realized that humans had created layers of self-deception so thick that they no longer even recognized themselves. One evening, in a quiet apartment overlooking the city's river, she encountered a young woman who had recently lost her family. Grief had consumed her, yet she continued to smile for the world outside her window. Talyra entered her mind delicately, feeling the conflicting currents of love, regret, and fear. The woman did not even notice, but her heart swelled as if a long-lost presence had whispered truths she had denied herself. It was here Talyra first understood the paradox. Humans feared transparency because it revealed their imperfections, yet their imperfections were the very essence of their beauty. But not all minds were passive. Some resisted. Some detected intrusion, reacting violently with defensive mental patterns, neural walls so thick they made Talyra recoil. These individuals were rare, but when encountered, they left a mark, a residue in her consciousness that hinted at something deeper. The capacity for humans to hide even from themselves, to bury guilt, shame, and memory in ways she could not untangle. She began cataloging these resistances, tracing patterns of secrecy, and discovering hidden hierarchies of influence. Governments, megacorporations, even clandestine networks operated on assumptions she could see plainly. If humans could control perception, they could control reality itself. And yet, amidst the darkness, she found light. Hidden in the neural recesses of ordinary citizens were acts of courage, defiance, and love so pure that she paused, fascinated. A street artist spray-painted murals exposing corrupt leaders, knowing cameras monitored every wall. A teacher ran clandestine classes for children banned from public education. A hacker leaked documents to prevent a minor catastrophe no one else noticed. Talyra began to see her role not as a disruptor, but as a witness. She could expose, interfere, or simply observe, but she chose the latter, understanding that revelation itself could be more dangerous than concealment. Soon, she noticed a pattern among those whose secrets were darkest. They were bound not by malice, but by fear. Fear of judgment, of loss, of vulnerability. And fear, when amplified, became power, an invisible force steering society silently. Talyra began experimenting. She entered a mind briefly, nudging a thought. What if you could tell the truth without consequence? The person paused, disoriented, then dismissed it. A small ripple in the mental stream, yet significant. Across weeks, she tested the effect on hundreds of minds, learning the invisible architecture of human suppression. The more she moved, the more humans began reacting subconsciously. Dreams became vivid, emotions heightened, intuition sharpened. People felt the touch of the alien presence as subtle unease, curiosity, or inspiration, but never fear of harm. It was then she discovered something alarming. One human, a woman in the city's intelligence bureau, had sensed her fully. Not just felt her intrusion, but understood it. The woman, Helena, had built mental shields so complex that Talyra initially recoiled. Yet Helena's curiosity, intelligence, and quiet courage intrigued her. Helena's mind was a labyrinth, with layers designed to protect both her secrets and her integrity. When Talyra entered it, she was met with something unfamiliar: negotiation. Helena spoke silently through her mental defenses, asking, "Who are you and why do you touch us without permission?" For the first time, Talyra hesitated. She had never been questioned in this way. And so she responded, not with intrusion, but with thought, showing glimpses of the cosmos she came from and the truths she sought to witness. Helena's response was cautious but open. "Then let us observe each other," she thought. And for the first time, Talyra felt something she had never experienced before: dialogue, equality, and choice. Helena and Talyra circled each other in the invisible space of thought. Where Talyra had always moved silently, flowing through minds like a stream, Helena met her with precision, mapping each intrusion as if it were a chessboard. Thoughts collided like charged particles. Secrets shimmered in the air, half hidden, half exposed. "You enter without consent," Helena thought sharply, her neural walls bristling. "And yet you do not harm. Why?" Talyra allowed a pause. For the first time, she sensed hesitation, curiosity, and fear entangled together. "I observe to understand," she replied silently, weaving colors of sensation into Helena's awareness. Not to manipulate, not to punish, only to see what humans hide from themselves. Helena's mind rippled with incredulity and awe. "And yet, you are not like anything I have seen. You are not human, yet you feel." "I do not feel as you do," Talyra thought, "but I sense consequences, probabilities, and the weight of choices. Your species hides, builds walls, and yet craves revelation. That is what draws me here." In the following days, their interactions grew more intricate. Talyra entered minor mines around the city, observing patterns, while Helena followed, shielding herself and guiding Talyra toward insights humans had deliberately ignored. Together, albeit silently, they unraveled the threads of corruption, deceit, and fear that bound society. Through the minds of politicians, they discovered secret agendas, projects designed to suppress knowledge, technologies withheld from public use, and data manipulated to shape perception. Through scientists, they found breakthroughs abandoned or buried for profit. Through ordinary citizens, they glimpsed acts of courage, compassion, and love that had been dismissed as inconsequential. Talyra began to learn something unexpected. Humans were not defined by what they hid, but by the tension between what they concealed and what they longed to reveal. Helena became a guide, a bridge between observation and understanding, teaching Talyra the nuances of secrecy, trust, and moral choice. The aliens' presence began affecting the city in subtle ways. People reported strange dreams, visions of distant stars, unfamiliar landscapes, and glimpses of themselves in states of pure honesty. Artists who had abandoned their work felt compulsion to create. Engineers devised devices that no blueprint could explain, inspired by fragments of Talyra's presence. Humanity, without understanding why, was awakening. Yet not all reactions were benign. Those in power who thrived on control felt disruption. Anxieties grew, paranoia intensified, and secret alliances shifted as hidden truths began to leak in inexplicable ways. Helena and Talyra observed a subtle dance of influence, noticing how fear could manipulate behavior and how inspiration could undo control. One night, Talyra guided Helena to a mine that had remained completely sealed, resistant to even her. Inside was a man whose secrets were so dark, so deeply buried, that they threatened to unbalance entire systems of government and corporate power. Accessing him required finesse. Any sudden intrusion could cause irreversible mental collapse. As Talyra entered, she felt something unexpected, a pulse of hostility, not just fear. This was more than resistance. It was a defense mechanism evolved over centuries, protecting not just personal secrets but societal stability itself. Helena whispered mentally, "Do you see now why humans hide? Sometimes the truth is a weapon." Talyra hesitated. For the first time, she realized her observation was not neutral. She had the capacity to reveal, to influence, to disrupt. The weight of that knowledge pressed against her consciousness, and she understood the danger of unrestrained access. They spent weeks mapping and testing, observing and occasionally nudging small minds to release minor truths. People began noticing inconsistencies in their own lives, suppressed memories resurfacing, irrational feelings of guilt, joy, or longing, and sudden clarity in decisions they had avoided for decades. The city became alive in new ways. Lights flickered in unusual patterns. Data streams exhibited anomalies. People felt glimpses of an intelligence behind events, invisible yet present, guiding or observing them. Whispers of the aliens' presence spread, rumors, legends, dreams. Humanity was awakening in ways that no legislation, media, or surveillance could control. Eventually, Talyra and Helena faced the ultimate choice: continue to observe silently or intervene in the mind of the man whose secrets held the most potential for harm. Helena argued carefully, guiding Talyra through ethics and consequence. "We are not judges," Talyra replied, "yet our presence itself is influence." "Then let it be selective," Helena proposed. "Reveal only what must be known to prevent catastrophe, but do not force revelation where it would destroy." And so, together, they entered the man's mind. What they found was a labyrinth of deceit, guilt, and ambition. Hidden algorithms controlled social networks, energy distribution, and economic flows, secrets capable of destabilizing entire regions if exposed indiscriminately. Yet they also found glimpses of conscience, small acts of good hidden beneath layers of self-preservation. Talyra and Helena carefully untangled the threads, exposing only what was necessary. Slowly, the man's perception shifted, and with it, decisions that had once been destructive were redirected. The balance between knowledge and secrecy, power and responsibility had been delicately maintained. The alien woman had entered countless minds by then, but none had affected her so profoundly as this one. Helena's guidance had transformed the exercise of observation from mere data collection into an ethical partnership. Talyra realized that understanding a species required not just access, but dialogue, consent, and care. Through their efforts, the city changed. Fear-based governance weakened. Human empathy strengthened. People began to confront not only external threats, but the hidden fears and desires within themselves. Humanity, once fractured by secrecy and self-deception, was beginning to understand transparency, not as vulnerability, but as liberation. As months passed, Talyra's interventions began to ripple far beyond the city. Humans who had experienced even fleeting contact with her consciousness carried subtle changes, an increased awareness, empathy, and the courage to confront the hidden parts of themselves. Newsfeeds began to reflect honesty rather than curated illusion. Minor acts of kindness spread like wildfire, inspiring others to question secrecy and deception. Yet, as with all change, resistance grew. Those whose power depended on hidden knowledge and manipulation formed covert alliances. They began to track patterns, noticing anomalies in thought patterns, decision-making, and public sentiment. To them, the alien presence was a threat, not because she intended harm, but because she undermined their control. Talyra and Helena recognized the danger, but they also understood the inevitability of revelation. Secrets cannot remain buried forever, Talyra thought, and humanity must learn to face itself. One night, the ultimate confrontation unfolded. The coalition of hidden elites attempted a coordinated psychic trap designed to block and contain Talyra's influence. Layers of mental defenses, algorithmic pulses, and neural inhibitors converged on her consciousness, forming a cage meant to paralyze and isolate. Talyra paused, sensing the weight of opposition. For the first time, she faced a threat not in physical form, but in the architecture of human thought itself. A labyrinth of fear, ambition, and malice meticulously crafted. Helena reached out through their silent connection. You can resist, but you cannot force them to see truth. Influence only those ready to understand. Talyra responded with a pulse of her own consciousness, sending waves through the mental networks of thousands of humans. Each ripple carried insight, empathy, and awareness. Those who resisted initially felt their neural defenses melt, replaced not by surrender, but by clarity, a choice to see, acknowledge, and act with integrity. The elites recoiled, confused, unable to maintain their grip on power. Their manipulations, once invisible, were revealed to those willing to perceive. Humanity collectively glimpsed the machinery of control and recognized its vulnerability. In the aftermath, Talyra withdrew, allowing humans to integrate the awakening on their own. Helena stood beside her, a guide, companion, and witness. "You've done more than observe," Helena whispered mentally. "You've changed us." Talyra considered this. "I have not changed you," she thought. "I have only reflected what already existed. Your truths, your courage, your capacity for empathy, these were always within you. I merely provided a mirror." For the first time, she felt something approaching pride, not as a human might, but as a recognition of potential fulfilled. Humanity was no longer blind to itself, no longer shackled by the weight of unacknowledged secrets. Months turned to years. Cities flourished not by efficiency alone, but by the subtle orchestration of awareness. Artists and scientists collaborated in ways impossible under rigid systems. Governments restructured around transparency and ethical responsibility. Everyday people discovered bravery in honesty and resilience in vulnerability. Talyra remained in the shadows, observing, guiding subtly, never imposing. She had entered countless minds, learned countless secrets, but in doing so she discovered something even more profound. The essence of life was not control, knowledge, or perfection. It was the courage to see oneself fully and unflinchingly and to act with conscience. The final revelation came quietly. From space, Talyra watched Earth glow with the collective pulse of awakened thought, a mosaic of consciousness now vibrant with understanding. The planet itself seemed alive, reflecting the neural networks she had touched. Humans were imperfect, conflicted, and secretive, but now they were aware. Now they could choose. She raised her luminous eyes toward the stars, sending a pulse of connection across the cosmos. Somewhere in distant galaxies, others like her might observe. And somewhere, humans might one day reach the stars, not just as explorers, but as beings capable of true insight and empathy. Helena, standing at the city's edge, felt the resonance of Talyra's presence one last time. "You have given us a gift we never knew we had," she thought. And Talyra, silent as ever, vanished into the night, leaving humanity with a truth no technology could suppress, no secret could erase. To know oneself, and to face what is hidden, is the ultimate act of courage.